We're going to look at calculating simple interest today. And the formula for simple interest is interest equals principal times rate times time. So we can also write this as I for interest, P for principal, R for rate, and T for time. Now, interest is the amount of interest earned or paid. Principal is the amount you either invested in the first place or the amount of loan you took out. Rate is the interest rate as a decimal, so if it's given as a percentage, we're going to need to divide by 100. And time is the time in years. Let's look at an example. Ian is investing $4,000 for 2 years. The interest rate is 5.5%. How much interest will Ian earn after 2 years? Well, I'm going to set up what we know and what we need to find out. Okay, the interest. How much interest will Ian earn? That is exactly what they're asking. So we don't know the interest. That's what we have to find out. The principal is the amount that Ian's investing. So they give that to us. It's $4,000. The rate is the interest rate as a decimal. So we're going to have to take that 5.5% and divide by 100. If you wanted to punch that into your calculator, you can feel free to do that. It would be 5.5 divided by 100. And T is the number of years. So they tell us it's 2 years. We're going to plug that into our formula. Our first step is always to write out the formula. I equals PRT. Our principal is 4,000. Our rate is 0.055. And our time is 2. If we take our calculator and multiply these together, we're going to have 4,000 times 0.055 times 2, and that gives us 440. Because it's a word problem, we're always going to want to have our therefore statement, and we want to answer the question, how much interest will Ian earn after 2 years? So therefore, Ian will earn $440 in interest. Okay. Sometimes we aren't asked for the interest, but we're actually given it. So how would we solve for the other variables? Well, we can set up a triangle that looks similar to this. I is at our top, that's interest, P for principal, R for rate, and T for time. So we know I equals P, R, T. What if we wanted to solve for P? Well, if we covered up the P here, we would be left with I equals, or I divided by R times T. If we wanted to solve for R, let's just pretend this R is covered up. So we would have I divided by P times T. And if we wanted to solve for T, we could cover that up, and we have I divided by P times R. Let's look at some more examples. Shirley got a $1,200 loan for 2 years. She paid $90 in interest. What was the interest rate? Well, let's find out what we have and what we need. I stands for interest. She paid $90 in interest. So we have I is 90. P is the principal. Well, the total loan was for $1,200, so P equals $1,200. R is the interest rate, which we don't know, and T is time. The loan was for 2 years, so T equals 2. Since we want to solve for R, we're going to go back and use our formula. R equals I divided by PT. So R equals I divided by PT. I is 90. P is 1,200, and T is 2. 1200 times 2 is 2400. And if I work that in my calculator, 90 divided by 2400, I'm going to get 0.0375. So 0.0375. Now that's the rate as a decimal. If we wanted it as a percent, we would just move the decimal place over 2 spots, and that's going to give us 3.75%. If you wanted, you could take that number in your calculator and just go ahead and multiply it by 100 to find 3.75%. Because it's a word problem, I'll write my therefore statement, and I'll answer the question, what was the interest rate? So therefore, the interest rate was 3.75%. Looking at our next example, Doug made a 3-year investment. The interest rate was 4.5%. After 3 years, he earned $675 in interest. How much was his original investment? So let's set up what we have and what we need. He made a 3-year investment, so I know my t equals 3. The interest rate was 4.5%, so I'm going to write that as a decimal. Just have to divide by 100. And after 3 years, we already know that's our t, he earned $675 in interest. So we are being asked to find his original investment, which is the principal amount. If we want to find our p value, remember our triangle, I, T, R, T. If we want to find p, our equation would be I divided by R times T. I'm going to plug in what I know. I is 675, my R is 0.045, and my T is 3. And I'm going to need to punch in 0.045 multiplied by 3 to give me my denominator, which is 0.135. And now finally I can punch this in. I'm going to have 675 divided by 0.135. It's going to give me an even 5,000. So I'm going to write my therefore statement, making sure I'm answering the question. The question was, how much was his original investment? So you could say, therefore, his original investment was $5,000. Kim got a loan for $4,700 to buy a used car. The interest rate was 7.5%. She paid $1,057.50 in interest. How many years did it take her to pay off her loan? I'm going to write down what we know and what we need to find out. Kim got a loan for $4,700. That is the principal amount she'll have to pay off. The interest rate was 7.5%, so we're going to divide that by 100 to get our decimal. She paid $1,057.50 in interest. So $1,057.50 in interest. How many years? That's what we have to find out. If we draw our lovely triangle, I, P, R, T, and we want to solve for t this time, so if we covered that up, we would have I divided by PR. So t equals I over PR. I'm going to sub in what we know. I is 1,057.50. P is 4,700. And R is 0.075. I go ahead and multiply 4,700 times 0.075. My new denominator is 352.50. So one last step, I'm going to divide 1,057.50 divided by 352.50 gives me 3. And because it's a word problem, I'm going to write a therefore statement. How many years did it take her to pay off her loan? Therefore, it took her 3 years. If you have any questions on simple interest, please leave them in the comments below, and I will try to help you out as best as I can.